Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the live version of what we used to call the Blastcast. I'm Jarvis. With me today is Captain Tyler. We're going to be talking about CItizenCon 2022. Now, before we start, if you're seeing a short clip of this only on BitChute, it's because the video file was too large when we got done the discussion. So you'll find a link down below to the YouTube video. I will put it up there as well. So if that's all you're seeing is a short video like the segment, just click on that link, watch it over there. All right, so CitizenCon 2022 has come and gone, and as you notice, we haven't done a Star Citizen Q&A on this channel probably since May. I think was when I looked at the last title screen, because this has been, without a doubt, the deadest year as far as information goes. A lot of it's been held back because of Squadron 42 and things that are developing in that regards, and there really hasn't been much progress in the PU. And also 3.17 has been probably one of the buggiest and most difficult builds to work with in quite some time. Even for a patch, they had the 30Ks come back, which they had pretty much all but eliminated in 3.16. Yeah, what did we learn today? Anyway, so we're going to go through these different sections and different topics, and as we're talking about these, basically what I want to do is we want to talk about the subject at hand, and if we move forward to another subject, we can talk about the previous subject, but try not to jump too far ahead, because I want to kind of keep things moving forward in a way. Towards the end, when we get past all the short segments that I've clipped out, basically we'll go ahead and open up the discussion to whatever you feel like covering, anything and anything else that you want to talk about whatsoever. So I want to get your feedback. I want to get your opinions and your thoughts on all these things that have come out, because I'm not so naive to believe that I have all the solutions and that I have all the answers, but I'm curious to know what you think, because different perspectives come together and can create a much better understanding and generate solid ideas. All right, so let me go ahead and switch back over to OBS here real quick. And now one of the first things that is that we're going to be talking about here is basically the new interaction system. This is a pretty short clip. Let me switch over to that. Looks like, and some of this I had to pull from the Nubifier, because he had a video at the opening, the keynote, before anyone else did, and so that's what the watermark is. So a free advertisement for him, right? Anyway, so down here, the new interaction system looks like they're trying to minimize the amount of things that you have to do with the terrible interactive mode. And have basically, if you play Cyberpunk, you know that basically typically there's a default when you look at something to interact with it, and then there's a hold but feature that opens up additional functions. So you'll have like use computer or hack computer, and typically hack computers tap F, and use computer you hold F for more detailed use of that computer. So it sounds like they're going down these kind of like the Cyberpunk road, and the system works. So if they want to go down this road, I'm more than happy to see them do that, because the current system we have right now, the problem with
it stinks.
Well, yeah, the interactive mode's terrible, because as your head bobs and wiggles and stuff like that, you're trying to use words that are floating, and your view is changing, and then where you click on is dependent upon where your view changes. It's a mess, particularly in ships when you're trying to utilize stuff, because once again, you're getting moved around in the cockpit and you're trying to click on more. It's messy and sloppy, and having played games like DCS and whatnot, it's much better to not have to fight the camera, what you're trying to select and all that. It's very messy, and because they have all these nicer like panels and things like that have been started to be added into the game, it's nice to see them treating, to some regards, the items and objects that are in the game similarly to the new panels that they have coming out. So I hope you all feel, think this is a better system. It might not be. Maybe if you don't like this system, let me know. But I think this is a much better, more reasonable system than we've had in the past. And what they may need here is a targeting cursor, so you can see what you're pointing at. Like
Yeah, I can't even see a dot.
Right, you get some sort of indicator towards the center of your screen, maybe that you can interact with, like that you're pointing at something to interact. Not having any sort of like marker kind of does make it difficult sometimes. I think that like when you're trying, like those pens there, if you're trying to pinpoint a particular pen, not having the targeting marker kind of makes well, this is very similar to Cyberpunk. If you haven't played it, this is very similar to how they interact. So, but nonetheless, having some sort of targeting marker in this regards would help very much so in those interactions. So I think this is a good improvement. So I don't think we need to dwell on that too much. If you want to talk about it as we move on, feel free. I know there's a delay on the stream and whatnot. So yeah, that's his good stuff.
Hero.
Next thing, of course, we've got the hover trolley, right? The hover trolley, I feel was an inevitability because we've seen a lot of problems with wheeled vehicles and such like that in the game, particularly when it comes to driving up the back of vehicles or whatnot. Hopefully this will give us a little bit more flexibility. We want to load. They want to have us load cargo manually in the ships. That was one of the dreams and one of the visions. This reminds me. This looks like it's like a casket. It's like you're taking someone to
It
be
looks
buried.
like
The
the
Star Trek
casket from
4.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, so the thing is that so the idea basically that it'll go over. It'll be probably be more forgiving for geometry. That won't have the same kind of maybe clipping issues. They can do
Lock stairs.
yeah, that where they have the collision meshes with wheels and whatnot. I don't know. We'll have to see. But as far as I understand, the wheels are kind of faked for the most part. They're just inverse kinematics that match, and the vehicle itself is lines itself over the terrain. So, but yeah, this though.
Weren't they talking about mounting something like this to containers
Right,
and then
exactly. Yeah,
being able to
for
move
loading
containers?
cargo. Yeah, for
Yes.
yeah, exactly. So you can.
So you could actually, the containers don't need to have them built on it.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have some sort of mobile feature where you can clamp it onto the container and then you can physically push it
Right.
into place, like an
Well,
anti-grav system.
I remember like a while ago. This is a long time ago. They said that there's a couple ways you build load cargo. You could load it manually, or you could pay a crew to load it and wait for the timer, effectively. So the
Yeah.
thing is that like if you're looking at a situation like where you don't want to pay a crew to load a ship, then you could say I'm going to load it myself manually. And obviously there's some bugs here, some we worked out. Some of the animations are a little bouncy, but basically that should make less of cargo. Oh, looks like Lightning sending me messages here through Discord.
It says cool.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. Lightning might be tuning in and texting and talking about this a little bit with us as well. So basically, yeah, this is a decent solution. I don't really have any issues with this. We'll have to see how this comes out. Overall, there's going to be bugs in the beginning. You're going to see all sorts of whack. It had self-lowers there, kind of like the Gravlevs do. And if it can
Maybe they can do something like that for the Dragonfly and other vehicles.
well, if it can lower like that, that means also they can possibly raise up. So you'll be able to stack boxes, larger containers on top, right? So you'll be able to adjust the height, you raise it up, and then you can push it in the rest of the way, allowing you to do that stacking of larger containers. Because right now, the most you're going to be able to pick up is boxes, smaller boxes, and be able to move these larger containers is very important. All right, so pretty
This
cool.
makes more sense than using a tractor beam gun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a big fan of the radial arm. The physics behind that. I tell you, you take a 5-pound box and you use a tractor beam gun, put it out 35 meters, and I don't think anyone's gonna be able to lift that sucker. So like the thing is that you have to. I never have had a real problem with the tractor beam. Now for space, pulling stuff around in 0G, I don't have an issue with it. For pulling yourself around in space, I have an issue with it. But in gravity environments, that tractor beam gun would not be worth much at all. It's just you look at the physics of the situation. It just doesn't.
I mean,
doesn't
put a
work. 5-pound
weight on the end of a long.
Well, that's what I said. Yeah,
stick.
exactly. You can't. Exactly. You hold a 5-pound weight close to your chest. Two 5-pound weights next to you. Well, it was the only one I had it at the time, dude. It's actually Star Citizen's footage. New Fire just put his little logo out there, so I can't do much about that. Anyway, so and then if you take those same 5-pound weights and you extend your arms out. Try to and see how long. Compare which one of those two you'll be able to hold out longer. Obviously, the ones close to the chest, you're gonna be able to hold them for a long time. The ones way out, you're gonna feel the burn very quickly. All right, so let's move on to the next one here. We have the generated maps. Now, I think this is a very, very smart system. Taking environments, ships, everything that can be seeded or generated, and then basically it's scanning it so that it can create maps within the system, whether it's cities or ships or buildings or whatever, and allowing you to have a map that will help you navigate and find location. As you see, this stuff is labeled. So this will be very useful for players, particularly on the larger ships, particularly the Starfarer, when you're trying to get around and you don't know where the hell you're going because you're in the Starfarer. And
What's the curse of the ladder today?
oh, we'll get into that in a minute. Okay, so the thing is that but this system I think is fantastic. This is a very smart solution to a very complicated problem, particularly with all the little bases and stuff have different layouts because they're generated by the seed by the seed system. So they basically, I mean, once it's generated, and it's going to be the same every time you show up. But every station has a different layout. So you go to station A and station B are not to be anything alike. So knowing where a weapon shop is, or being able to even just to know if there is a weapon shop, because you can do a scan or like pull up the map and look at the different areas. That's fantastic. I think this is great. I think it's very pretty. It looks functional, so they managed to fit form and function here pretty well. I don't really have a lot of complaints about this. I think this is very cool. Um,
Hero, you just took away what I was going to say next.
yeah, yeah. Well, the sonar system. Yeah, well, that goes towards investigations as well in AI updates. So that's actually the next year. But yeah, this is cool. I look forward to seeing this in game. I think this will also help a lot of new players who try the game for the first time. They don't know where to go. They don't know what's
Get
going on.
lost,
They get
yeah.
lost. They're asking, that they can pull up a map and have a direction, an indicator. This will be a big game changer
I
for new
wish they did that
players.
for Fallout Pit.
Yeah, this is this. Yeah, we need one for the pit. Anyway, so yeah, this is very nice. So excellent job, CIG. I'm looking forward to seeing how this fully pans out. Great job. No complaints there, really.
Because they were talking about using some sort of ping, and you could use that in the game
Yeah,
for.
well. That's what we're getting to. That's in fact right
Okay,
here. That's investigations.
yeah.
I'm a part of investigations, and also they show us a little bit later during the AI updates. But anyway, so investigations are one of the first attempts at a dynamic mission system where the player has to investigate what happens, and they can determine at what time that mission is ready to turn in, and depending upon how deep they investigate, they follow the clues correctly. The payouts will be different, so they can give up at a certain point and just turn it in, right, and be done with it, and just say, okay, good enough. I'm frustrated, and I'm going to get paid a certain amount. Or you can keep pushing it. Maybe you'll find another clue that'll lead you to somewhere else and take you down the road, and
Get
so
your bonus content.
yeah, exactly. So it's just a matter of now it's a baseline system. They want the system to tell a story. It's very important for them to feel like that, even though it's a random generated thing, that there is a narrative to be found. And I agree with that. That's a decent process. To not just make it feel like you're going out and killing 15 pigs to get 10 pig stomachs, which I always thought was ridiculous in MMOs. I was like, wow, why these other 5 pigs don't have stomachs? But anyway, so see here, yeah, this mapping will probably be open. Although plus side, you have a lot of places to pick it from the high. Well, the mapping system, if it doesn't show players, um, you know, that's, I mean, like the if you're talking about that map I just showed. But if you're talking about the ping, the thing about the ping is that if you can use it to get information, but if you use it to get information, you also expose yourself.
As yourself, yes.
Now, I would like to see, um, like that
You're not gonna
radar they
send it.
have on the FPS portion. To me, has always been a real problem. The idea that you can just see everyone around you. I think if they limit it to like you just detected a ping in this direction, treat it more like Aliens. You know how you had that little motion detector, and I'd be fine with something like that, as opposed to, as I call it, the crotch radar. Basically, where it's just, your crotch plate is emitting a radar signal. Um, but yeah, this system, the idea, this is, we were supposed to have dynamic missions about 2 years ago, I think, is what it was on the roadmap originally, and it was one of the things that we were, Lightning and my brother and I were waiting for the most. But as you can see here, as you're digging through it, you're showing, I guess, completion levels. And this is kind of like a test level that, like, nothing else exists but this. And of course, this has to dynamically adjust to all different parameters. And
You're killing a
yeah, you can
caterpillar.
download from their Moby Glass to get information, which is awesome. It wouldn't make sense that you wouldn't be able to utilize that tech or whatnot. This is actually quite cool, and I'm looking forward to it. I feel this is the kind of thing that I could sink my teeth into more than the running out and the one where you have to blow up three things to basically,
Yeah,
uh,
blow up three
those three
targets and
targets and then
just
make money
over
and
and
then
over and
leave. And
over.
that's it's fast, but it's not interesting. So yeah, basically you can go in. There's different ways. Maybe you have to kill somebody to get the information you need. Maybe you'll find it on a corpse. Maybe you'll find it in a box. Maybe you'll find an item on the ground. But it's
They
how much
even
you.
said that, say, they have a missing persons. You find you go through all this stuff,
Right.
find out that they had a job to do at this location after going through all their
Yeah.
communication. They go to that location and you find out if did he ever finish that job, and you might find him
Well,
or
the cool
his
thing.
person there.
The cool thing about these missions too is that these will encourage co-op play, because like if you're as you're splitting up to search an area, if you all have the same mission shared, when someone finds something, it should go into the total completion. So like you could go out there with 3, 4 of your friends looking for, and they could be looking. I'm going to take this section of the ship. You're going to take. I'm going to search around the ship, whatever, and you can work together to actually star Batman. So you can swear to me. No, so basically, but you can work together very well to do these quickly and efficiently, and just take that time together and kind of have a shared goal in Star Citizen. Um, I wouldn't say for the first time, but something that feels a bit more tangible than we've had in the past. So I'm all for this. I think this is great. I'm looking forward to seeing the first. In fact, I'd like to, at some point in time when that does come out, it might be fun to do a stream with you guys. Anyone who wants to join in, and we can do an investigation or two together, and hopefully not die or get a glitched out or bug or have an elevator or ladder kill us. But if we can get past all that, we can go ahead and, and see, go from there. And no goal is only PvP murder. Yeah, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope these don't. I'm not a big fan of the missions where other people can all snag the same thing as you do, because then that's like, once again, that's CID trying to funnel people into forced PvP. Because let's face it, even if you're not looking for PvP, you say your player A isn't looking for PvP and player B isn't looking for PvP. But because of the way that the game is, two people who don't know each other are going to meet each other. The odds are someone's going to die. Because
Well,
they're going to wonder, are you going to shoot me first? And someone's just going to pull out their gun and blast the other person because they don't want to risk it, right?
Yep.
There's this weird hostile environment that's created in the game by the nature of some of the things they throw us into. And it'd be nice if we could maybe, like, I don't know, have a visible rep. Like you'd see somebody from this guy's listed as a good guy, and or you behind cover. Hey, I'm just let you know I'm here doing a mission, and I see you got a good rep or something. You're not a PK or whatever. You want to help? You want to work together on this? See if we can figure this out. Okay, but we need some sort of system where we can at least check the other person's like PK status or whatnot, or how mean they are. Defect detective vision. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, I can see it. I can see CIG doing it. I don't know. I don't want them to do it, but I could see
Well,
them
even
doing that.
online, if you had a guy who was always being a pain in the butt, it lowered their stats,
Yeah.
and it would
Oh,
pop up as like, beware, this guy has a lower rating.
yeah. All right. So here's a really big one. Here's a really big one before we get into the last part, because this kind of feeds into the other one here, and not the last part, but the next part after that. All right. So there's CIG's updating the movement. This is a big one for me. It's like Mirror's Edge Star Citizen. So basically, they're not tying you down to the same limits you had before. This is going to allow you to hopefully not get stuck in all those tunnels to the same degree as we've been getting stuck before, floating between boxes and what. The character looks like they're more dynamic in their ability to deal with different obstacles and situations. And in fact, the fact that even freely jumping off of and jumping onto ladders, and obviously got to deal with that. I wonder if that going to make the ladders even more magnetic now for that. So here is basically jump to a ladder. All right, and then of course now when you're on the ladder, you can free look around. You're no longer tied to looking straight where you are. You can look up, you can look down, you can jump off the ladder. So you're not tied to it. And then he jumped off a ladder onto a ledge across the way. So this will,
Well, it will make transversing the Starfare so much better.
yeah, well, it may be. It depends on how they do with the Starfire. I know they're going to do a rework on that. So this is a welcome change. I think this will also solve a lot of the problems we've had in the past, and we've seen it a lot even on my streams, where I get stuck between literally two mundane items, and I'm floating forever because the game doesn't know what to do with it, and you're just stuck. And and I just oh yeah, and of course we have the push-pull system for space. It looks like they have magnetic gloves. I don't know if they still have magnetic boots. I imagine that they will. But
Please.
when you're pushing and pulling on surfaces, it does actually make sense, in my opinion, to use your hands because you have more fine control. So basically,
Everyone is Spider-Man.
yeah, you can be like Space Spider-Man. But the thing here is that this is a very welcome system because especially when we're dealing with scanning, or maybe you want to run low key, so you don't want to like burn your EVA. You don't want to be detected, so you slowly pull yourself along a surface to not leave a larger signature to be seen as you're trying to get into a base or whatnot. I think this is pretty cool. Also, if you're crawling along the outside of your ship, if you want to do repairs in space, then you could basically, you have one hand on the deck, one hand with your repair tool or whatever out there, repairing away, and you're not going to float away into space. But it's reasonable. I think it's fine. I think you should also be able to stand up here and just physically walk. But I know they're demonstrating the push-pull with the hands. But the hands would be, like if you're trying to move forward quickly, hands would make more sense in a lot of regards because you have a lot more fine control. So like we just let go there and just drift. That's pretty cool. Um, yeah, boarding your own ships when they're falling towards the gravity. So yeah, and also EVA is going full decoupled, which hopefully that decoupled involves it means if you want to stop it, you have to. I think you actually have to use the quote unquote space brake, but if not, you'll just keep drifting. Hopefully, that involves giving us inherited velocities, meaning that if you're in a ship that's say doing 200 meters per second, you step out, the ship just doesn't fly away, and you never catch it again. You should step out of that ship at that same 200 meters per second speed, because if you get a damaged ship, the engine or the thrusters get disabled, and you step out to do repairs, you should inherit that velocity and then go ahead and
Yeah, you
basically.
should be able to turn that on and off in case you have a jetpack.
Well, the EVA is going full decoupled like X4
Yeah.
has it as well or whatnot, and then basically there's a stop, and I think that's fine. I think that full. I mean, I think you just make flight the same way. It's funny. EVA will have a more complex flight system, so we'll have to see what comes with all that. We'll get into that stuff later as well. So this is actually looking pretty good. Um, I don't really have a lot of issues with. Of course, you can still fire off your thrusters and change course and all that, but this is because you're gonna have fuel, I think, in your suits now. So this is one of those things that, like, if you want to minimize the amount of fuel that you're using in your EVA suit, if you have an object to utilize, then this is the way to go. To
See, another thing good about this is I can see a small tractor beam. You could start off pulling yourself towards something a
yeah,
distance.
and you drift with since it's decoupled, you drift until eventually you get to a point where you can actually snag the item or whatnot. Yeah, it makes sense. I don't know why it's frosting up in space, but as far as I know, there's no water in
Mhm.
space. But whatever. Uh, but yeah, uh, yeah. So there's a lot of games. There's a lot of games out there that utilize these systems, which is fine. I have no problems with CIG taking an idea or a concept that works in another game and applying it to their game with the adjustments and modifications needed that they need to make it work. I'm fine with that. In fact, I've encouraged that for quite some time. So let's get into the AI updates. Now, one of the things that there was a Star Citizen Inside Star Citizen Live. They talked about how the internal AI works way different than the external. Here's that ping they're going to show in a second. And if this was like bing, that gets the notification. But anyway, they said like the AI works really well in the test environment, but when it hits the server tick rate, the AI just becomes complete idiots. Or if the server tick rate's high, the AI is really good. So it depends on the server tick rate. Hopefully, with the server meshing and being able to have a more focus in that regards, we can have we can start seeing more proficient AI and less T-posing chair standers. Uh, you know, yeah, EVA is going decoupled. Yeah, that's something they talked about. Yeah, um, which means it's funny because then they just get rid of the thing of flight that we have right now. So basically, yeah, there, you see the markers indicators showing that your detection. The AI will actively search. In fact, they really do a really solid job of searching. Once they've covered an area, they move on to the next area. You can probably play that to your advantage to some degree, but they seem to be very thorough in their searching, and they don't seem to stop after 5 seconds and go, "Must have been the wind," as you got an arrow sticking out of their head. But it seems like this is they come out here. They literally they're working together. They're checking a pattern. They're covering all little nooks and crannies. They're covering one another. This looks really good. In fact, this reminds me of some regards of one of my favorite games from a while ago that had AI that I thought was very good at searching and fighting the players. I don't know if you all played the original Fear. I thought that one had some amazing stuff. The AI would use environment like tip over tables and stuff, and it was just like it was. I loved it. I loved it. Like it was amazing AI. I love it when there's been. It's funny that some of the older games I played seem to have better AI than the newer games. They took that time, effort, and energy, and having AI that challenges you, or at least keeps you on your toes as a real threat is nice. I want to see how this goes after server mesh. It's not going to work very well before that because we know how AI acts right now. It can't even figure out what a chair is. Um,
The T-posing men.
oh gosh, yeah. The chairs aren't for sitting there for standing. Standing room only. But yeah, as you can see here, they're just covering. They once they check something, oh, this is locked or whatever, and so you could probably play it to your advantage too. Like if you go inside and lock that door, or I don't know, weld it, it would probably detect the heat. But yeah, they're checking everything. Once they're secure in their belief that there's nothing there, they move on. So this guy that they're using as an example, he's basically running out of spaces to hide because he hasn't. I mean, if looking at this as a player, you would want to take advantage and maybe move to a location that they've already checked, but because they're going to keep going until they find out exactly what it is. And here now, then of course you'll have the inevitable ending in that regards. But yeah, and of
I
course this
kind of
is
like the weird welding their feet to the floof.
this is more of a live example or like an in-game example of this as the AI are searching for you. This is that same test station, the one that's going to be in Squadron 42 that they've used as an example before.
I
But they
like
got
the station.
yeah, they got a couple AI here searching for the player, and as it goes around, it's going to continue to, try to narrow down where they are. And I don't, and hopefully they don't. I guess when they go on to an alerted status, I didn't hear them talk about a stand down status, like I said, like in Skyrim where you eventually like, it must have been the wind and they got an arrow sticking out of their head, right? There should be a certain point, like if someone gets shot and they find a body, they shouldn't back down from the search. It wouldn't make sense. Like you don't find Joe dead over there and go, well, guess he, guess he had a heart attack, and then just leave it at that, right? You got bull holes sticking out of him or whatever. His throat's cut. Pick your poison. So hopefully the AI will just continue to, uh, uh, you know, act a little bit more like you would see in real life, and go on high alert if they find something like that. Hopefully they also give us some way to stash bodies. Maybe not as quite as arcadey as like as a cyberpunk, but nonetheless something. Put them in vents, some places to hide. Maybe cover them with a tarp. I don't know. Yeah, well, we don't know. Maybe, but they. That's the thing. Lightning. Sorry, Hero said that. They have a thing where the AI have personalities, so some will be cowardly. In fact, when you have the AI when you engage in combat, and I think it shows it here in a few minutes. They talked about how that when you go into an area, each time you go into it, say like you have to do a mission in the same area 4 times, just as an example. Every time you go in, the parameters of the AI that are standing at locations will be different. Some AIs will be attackers. Some AI will be defenders. So then they talked about a while ago that AI will have different psychological. Some will be brave. Some will be cowardly. So is it possible that the last guard runs away? Absolutely. I believe this is where they start doing the breakdown of the different.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
and they
that's
have the
a
guard and the
defender,
pusher.
strafer, pusher. So you
Yeah.
have here, as you can see, they have these different personality types. The pushers move in front, the defenders are taking cover, and the strafer, I guess he's just, yeah, he's stepping off to the side. That's their primary tactics. Like they focus on those tactics in their combat. So by doing this, they can create baseline personalities for how a person, how an AI likes to proceed in combat. And I think the defenders are the ones you got to be the most worried about because they're going to be the ones that are going to like, you know, these other guys are going to be out in the open really, especially that pusher. That pusher is probably going to be the easiest to deal with. Because he seems to be pretty direct. The strafer tries a little bit of movement, but he's kind of in the open too. But these other guys, the defenders, the guys that are basically you're going to be shooting at each other over boxes, and that can be pretty dangerous too. Because if you're behind cover and the strafer or the pusher are out in the open, you have the advantage. But those guys, when you're just basically two sets of guys behind boxes blasting each other, everyone who played Arma knows that can get pretty hairy. You got to come up with some really quick and accurate snapshots in order to make that work. Yeah, explosion distracts him. Yeah, you can do the same kind of thing, and like as I said, like in Cyberpunk, for example, you can make a radio explode or something, and then, well, I mean, infinitely searching. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I don't know if it's infinite or not, but I mean, I would say realistically speaking, if I found, you know, someone that I knew like wiped out. Like, and they weren't that way 2 minutes ago. I know there's danger around. I'm not going to be satisfied until I've searched every nook and cranny, and even then, I'm going to be on alert. So there's like a high alert level, and there's like a default alert, but not, like a non-alert level. But I mean, I imagine that it would switch back over time, but it's just a matter of how long that's going to be. I imagine that each bar is significantly longer. down to the next level.
I'm
They
watching
feel
this
confident.
footage, and I'm still wishing they would put something over the people's heads to say that's an enemy.
Yeah, at least when they cannot find you, don't go back to zero state again. Exactly. Yeah, there's no way if you find one of your friends dead, you go back to a zero state. That doesn't even make sense. But you're going to be more aware. So yeah, AI updates is looking pretty good, guys. So I think we'll have to see how that happens. We're not going to see the full effect of that till we get server meshing and whatnot. So let's jump over to power play a little bit here. All right, so power play is about basically running the power systems in the ships to basically you can reroute or reduce the amount of power your ship takes by shutting off insignificant systems. I don't imagine lights would take that much power, but if you're trying to squeeze out every square inch of power you can out of a ship, you want to shut the lights off, cool. Uh, and kind of run dark in every regards of the word. Uh, but power play builds into what they're doing with the multiple speeds, which is what we'll get into in the next section. But power, I mean, I believe they talked about they even want to have cities have to deal with power situations. That makes it interesting. What if you had missions that take out like a city's power generators, and you could set the whole city dark for like it's the setup? Think of it like a two-team objective. One takes out the city's shield generators, and another has to take the opportunity when the generators go down to sneak into a building and get the thing they need to get out and get in and get out within the 5 minutes before the backup generators kick on or something. That'd be amazing. But power play extends into a lot of different areas of the game, and in fact, it also they have a whole circuitry system, or at least a power supply system, where you can take a part off of one thing and maybe like a minor power route and move it to a major power route to get the major systems back up, and some of the minor ones staying down or whatever. But the point is that turrets on turrets. I hate that thing about that ship. Anyway, so the thing is that they're showing the fuse thing, but obviously if you run out of parts, if you have extra parts in the repair bay, you're going to go and grab those first. You're not going to want to be down a system. But if you're out and you're having to make hard choices, and I firmly believe choices are important to making a game viable. It's not only what you can do, but it's what you can't do. That sets the parameters, the boundaries, all of it. Life support. They talked about life support for a while. Excuse me. That basically that ships will only support a certain amount of people, and you have to wear a spacesuit or whatnot. Otherwise, but you have too many people on a ship. The life support can't handle it. People start to suffocate. Maybe you have to put more power into life support, but that may cause more wear and tear in your life support, ultimately breaking it, which means everyone dies. So there could be a lot of different consequences here.
Well, like in other shows, they'll have to turn life support off in certain slices that have damage, and tell
Gotcha,
those
know
people
that,
they
yeah.
have to be they can't go in that area until it's repaired. Otherwise, they'll be wasting all their energy into putting oxygen into a corridor that has a hole in it.
We're talking about reason not to wear a helmet, and I don't think they have. In fact, I don't see any reason. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't wear a helmet. And honestly, if you're in a spaceship, I think being EVA ready in a game where potentially you can get a hull breach is just a good idea in general. Oh yeah, you can shut gravity on and off in the ships now, which would be good. Um,
For the
so
push pull.
that gravity on and off is going to have a massive effect. If you're getting boarded, you'll want to shut that gravity off. Maybe. I mean, it depends, right? But if you want to make it harder for them to traverse a ship, maybe slow them down. Having the gravity up might be a good thing for doing that. Here is basically they pull the fuse off of this system because there's the power system, the grid they're showing there, and he's going to replace it on a major system to get the power line. Excuse me, get the power back up on a major route to get more effective systems up and running. See, now he's got more active systems up and running. They got the front turrets back up and running. The one in the back left is not running anymore. Of course, pressurization. That seems like it's getting close to coming in, so we can finally vent rooms and whatnot. 1 second. Sorry, I have a cloggy throat. Bad timing, of course. Okay, and you can also manually go in and vent a room as well, which is good for fire control. It's good for killing off boarders. I don't think you're going to have boarders that aren't going to have suits. I mean, that's just a given. I don't think anyone's going to board a ship without a suit, but you can definitely take advantage of this in some ways. But I think the biggest one for me is going to be fire. Like when I think about the 400 eyes, I think was one of the nicest layouts because your components are in separate small rooms where you could just basically drain the room of air and put out the fire, I think this is a perfect example of why I think that's because you're able to just drain it out. Let's see here. Let me check the chat real quick here. Well, if you have a suit on and the oxygen refilling is going to be taking the air from the ship, but at a given point, like as I said, if you have too many people on the ship, then you're going to want to have like eventually, maybe you'll want to go ahead. Maybe should give us the option to not be able to pull air from the surrounding area. So if it's a two-person ship and you've got 3 people in it, for example, then maybe you want to go ahead and have one person using their suit oxygen. Yeah, temperature control. This is pretty cool. So this might actually come in handy too, because if we're dealing with alien races, and eventually, even if you're like, imagine like down the road that you're able to roll, not a Vandul, but a Xeon character, okay? If you're able to do that down the road, and they come from a different environment, and then you want to set your ship's environment, and someone else comes into your ship, and they're gonna have to like, why is it so cold in here? And your character's suffering the effects of cold because, then you give them their own quarters, and then they go in the quarters and they turn their temperature up to their character's needs or whatnot. It's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, here we got the room, the oxygen transferring between rooms. Same kind of thing. So you can have the whole, so one's draining on one to the other. So, once again, yeah, the pressurized suit thing. You're right. It's not likely in that regards, but that temperature control isn't just for ships. Imagine you're. They've shown some missions where you didn't have a suit, and you're out in the cold, and you find a building, and you're able to turn up the temperature so your character doesn't freeze to death because the power is working. Stuff like that. It's kind of like having the ability to turn the lights on and off. It's a cool thing. Maybe you won't utilize it all the time. Like, I'm not playing with my thermostat in my room all the time, right? I don't wake up the first thing in the morning and adjust the temperature. I basically play with it in the summer and I play with it in the winter, right? Set the temperature. That's it. So it's not something obviously you're going to use every day, but it's cool that it's there. All right, so you get the general idea here. This is all the gravity and all the stuff like that. Now, low gravity. So this will be handy for repairs too. Like if you got a component that's like up on the ceiling or something, then being able to turn the gravity off will really aid in the repairs in that regard. So.
And there's your multi-tool with the tractor beam too. To turn the gravity off, you can pull yourself up into areas to work on. Break out your sonic screwdriver and start going to town.
Yeah, here's what this is. If you get sabotaged, if you get someone inside of a ship, inside of they sneak aboard, or you've snuck them into an organization, and he pulls the plug on like the shield generators, like while the guy's outside, then basically he's sabotaging the ship from the inside, and suddenly it's like the shields are down. Where's the override? Where's the override?
The override.
Yeah, the whole Wrath of Khan thing going on, because basically you've taken out the shields from the inside, and now the ship is vulnerable. So let me just take a look at the list here, real quick before we move on here. Let you read that. See, interactive access items to ships, relay gameplay, changing fuses on the relays, resource balancing, defining control groups that will be accessible through MFDS. Oh yeah, it means the captain can set who controls what. Allowing people to create presets for your resource network. Presets are awesome. An engineering UI with at least a list or schematic view of your ship. External engineering screen. Allowing engineers to define the tuning parameters that can be accessed by the pilot at the press of a button. That's pretty cool, being able to set these different things. Yeah, temperature controls will be good for growing plants, it's true. Very, 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 very true. All right, so that's the end of that little section here. Let me skip forward here. Multiple speed. This is a huge one. This is a huge one. This is a big change to the flight. We'll have to see how it plays out, but I'm glad that they're putting limitations.
It's going to make it hopefully that actually when we have combat, it's going to be close combat, not strafing.
Right.
Combat.
The CIG's not the first one to come up with the travel modes. I mean, like even Elite Dangerous has different travel modes. Once you have like the standard flight mode, you have the like not the full jump, but you have then you have the one that's like more of a sublight kind of thing, and then you have the one that's actually the super high speed one. This is similar to that regards, because you'll have the manual control short quantums. You'll have the quantums that you are more longer based. You'll have the So there's a lot of things about Savage positive solo. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Pops up the radar exactly. So one of the things you'll notice in this video though still is that the combat is still a lot of face to face
Yeah.
in these videos. They like almost like hitting each other face to face. They need to adjust the rotations still. They need to fix rotations. They need to give us proper acceleration controls. I'm not saying that stuff doesn't need to be done, and this is the power play is a perfect solution. It's a part of a solution. It's not the full thing. We still need to see projectile rates and volumes come down. We still need to see rotation rates come down, so we can get a better feel for flight. Because this will get us closer to the goal. But unless they do that, we are not going to be seeing a very not an extremely significant change to combat, and not without the whole picture coming together. You can't change. And what I'm fearful about that with CIG is a lot of times they make one change out of like several things that are important to change, and then when it doesn't fully work the way they want it to, they scrap the whole damn thing.
We'll go back to where it
When they
was.
were on the way to doing it right, they just basically threw in the towel before adding the other components. We've seen this multiple times. Um, no, there doesn't seem to be much change in what we've seen in acceleration rates yet. Those ships are almost hitting each other. I mean, that's the thing. Like, we don't have any direct acceleration control. We still have, a cruise control throttle, and you set the thrust limiter on the left, which is completely backwards. And that's been one of my complaints for the longest time. That's why I have no interest in the upcoming races on the ground, because of the fact that we don't actually have throttle and brake control. We just set our speed and then drive, and that's really really crappy. And I have like other race games like Forza and stuff that are going to be much more satisfying for racing, because of the fact that the race line, acceleration, and braking are key to racing, and they've taken out 2/3 of those, effectively speaking. So you know, as I said, even combat, man, you can just watch these videos and see why combat is not interesting, because there's no real sense of maneuvering. It's just everyone fly at each other, fire the guns as fast as they can, because
And then
and
they
they
just
instantly turn around and they're able to do it again, and it's just like,
yeah.
because the rotation rates. It's way too. It's just look at they're just facing each other. It's a tank and spank. It's a tank and spank, and unless they want to deal with those other two issues, it's not going to change anything. Um, yeah, turning combat is removed when you decouple. Right. Well, that's why I said that they need to get rid of the coupled mode, because if EVA is going to be decoupled, why shouldn't flight just only be decoupled? That was one of the points I was making earlier. Is that the very nature that EVA will have a more strict, or in some regards advanced flight than the flight mode. They maybe should take a lesson and take a look at that. This is a real issue, no matter what. And they're also going to clean up the UI, so it's not as much stuff blocking your
Less
view,
cluttered.
less clutter.
They're
Um,
talking about they're redoing the flash
mhm.
on the HUDs, and they're going to make it so since most of the information on the HUDs is not needed to be put on the screen, that'll clean up the screen with all the other. When they
Okay,
get multiples of the same information, it just clutters the screen.
now you bring up a good point. How will they dodge and get away from the missiles? Well, this is where flares and chaff are going to have to come in a lot more effective. I mean, a lot more, needed a lot more. But if we deal with positional combat, firing missiles head to head shouldn't be the best option. In fact, that should have the lowest success rate. So, but they need to get out of that face-to-face combat thought process that we've had for the longest time, and allow dogfighting to actually happen. Because right now, what we have is not dogfighting; it's an FPS shooter with an FPS level, effectively with no walls, unless you're in an asteroid field. I guess you could count that as walls. But there are also the advantages of master mode. It's one of the things and you talk about stealth systems and stuff like that. Okay, right now, if you have a stealth ship, stealth doesn't work too well. But let's assume they get stealth working really well. And this will affect Lightning too, because he's a Hornet Ghost. Okay, so you get in close right now. I mean, this is a short travel that you control. This is like Elite Dangerous one, where you get intercepted. You can try to control the thing, but this is like you have to keep it in the middle for the short travel that you control. Anyway, this is the quantum travel mode, where you're out of, and then when this mode you don't have any shields, you don't have any weapons. All power goes into the quantum bubble, which I'm fine with. But anyway, Oh, darn! I was just I lost track of what I was. Yeah, ECM. Okay, so you jump in with a stealth ship, and with the fact it takes time to switch to the travel mode, you can't just right now if you were to use a stealth ship and you were to jump in, basically you could just the person you're attacking could quickly get away. It's easy to extend. It's easy to jump out. But now it's going to take more dedication and time, which means it gives a little bit of power back to the stealth ship. That gives them back that advantage. But once actual combat entails, they can just turn around and start engaging. But you get that initial advantage, and it forces a choice. Do I want to try to take more hits and try to get away, like right here, because they're going to take the shields down in order to get the jump, but you're going to get pounded on if you don't dodge everything, or do you stick into the fight? And I think choice is important. I think like a capital ship, like if a capital ship can jump, but only when the shields are down. Think about the choice you have to make on that. If you got fighters, like you want your fighters to suppress the other fighters that are coming in on your ship. It's like, look, we need you to keep them off us because we can't take. We're gonna try to jump, but our shields are gonna be down for the next 2 minutes. So you need to, you know, so you've got that situation where your fighters are trying to press the other guys to keep them off the capital ship, so the ship can escape and the fighters can jump after or whatever. And that puts some cool pressure dynamics in a fight that you have to make choices about how, and this becomes less of an issue too with the scanning ranges. They talked about the scanning ranges being increased, so you might see someone from hundreds, if not thousands, of miles away as this moves along. So like you'll be able to see if there's like, okay, crap, there's someone coming in to intercept us. They'll be here in 5 minutes. You can make that decision, like, do I stay or do I go? If I can use those song lines. Um, Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. Working on radar, armor. Yeah, yeah. The reason radar is but they talked about the scanning distances, so that if the scanning distances increase, then you missed a Bengal. You suck. You shot a missile, missed a Bengal. You're fired. Anyway, so yeah, it's one of those things that it's going to require more components and more parts of the total system to make it come together and work. And this is why I hope that CIG doesn't do any snap decisions if this doesn't fully satisfy the things that they want to achieve before the other things that I feel need to be changed or changed. And I hope that they keep working on this and
Yeah, I hope this is
exploring,
just step one.
and then they keep exploring those other things that we talked about and start dipping into them. Because I think I think when you have great people like David Colson and Yogi Platt, basically these are people, I think they care about what they're doing. And I think if we can just, encourage and point these things out, that we can hopefully get these things shuffled bit by bit, inch by inch, towards a final product that I think most of us can be happy with. There's never going to be any product that everyone's happy with, but I'd be happy with the majority. Um, you know, I absolutely would. Let's see here. Well, yeah, but you don't lose them. It does store them in a buffer, but it's still offline. I mean, you're gonna get shot. Um, I mean, there's some decent amount of time exchanges and modes, quick. But yeah, you do have the buffer. I get that. Like you have that. But you're not regenerating anything. All the power is going directly into your coin. So you're only gonna be able to hold out for so long, and since you're not regenerating, you're
Oh,
pretty
you see it?
vulnerable. Hmm?
It showed the whole A.
Oh yeah. Um, Well, it depends on I'll give you an example. You talking about how big of an issue that will be. I don't know. What if you have torpedo ships coming in, a bunch of retaliators and stuff like that? Could be a big issue. The shields could soften the blow or keep those torpedoes from being. But if you can't charge your shield and your shields are getting taken down because you're trying to get ready for a jump and it's going to leave a window opening an opportunity for bombers, torpedoes, and stuff like that. There's been quite a few missions in the Wing Commander games where there was like these skip torpedoes that would just cloak and reappear, realign, cloak, reappear, and you had to basically you had to take them out. And so because of that, you could have some very interesting situations. And I imagine this is a Chris Roberts game. We're going to have a torpedo mission at some point. It's going to happen. I can't think of a single game in I can't. I think actually maybe I can, but most of his games have that, and I think it's kind of a standard Chris Roberts mission at this point in time, and just expect it for Squadron 42 at least. Let's see here. I don't know. We're gonna have to see. Is it buffer or is it completely off? That's what I know. If it's buffer, like you're saying, fine. If it's off completely, fine. They'll balance the game around that. You know what I'm saying? I think buffer would be fine. Like it's not charging anymore. Like shields should have some sort of like battery, and I think
Capacity.
yeah, capacitor. And I think but it's just not charging the capacitor. I think they said something though that the quantum bubble, if you're trying to jump, cannot work with the weapons. It can't be built if weapons are firing through it and if shields are pushing against it. So I think they said that I think the shields are just offline when it comes to that, like flat out off. Um, yeah, medium fighters will still be useless. Yeah, I guess it depends. That's another thing that they need to distinguish, like those medium fighters. Like you're right. There's like the light fighters are the meta, and this is why we got to deal with the armor and the shield power, the strength, and also one of the things they talked about with power play, by the way, slowing down combat, is that turrets will become more effective. I was like, you're slower. And they talk about vector changes. I guess there's more power. I guess is going to be in the front end and in the main engine than the Mavs as far as strafing goes or power in that regards. So that's good, and that's another piece that's in the right direction. But because your ships will be, I guess they talk about slower. I guess maybe accelerations are going down or whatnot to some degree. You should still have direct acceleration control anyway. But they talk about how turrets. They were showing a hammerhead will be a lot more deadly, which they should be. But I've said for the longest time, like one of the early problems we had with turrets in the game was, and we talked about this on tons of blastcasts. Lightning can attest to that since he was a co-host on that for years. Was that the faster you make the ships, the less effective the turrets become, and smaller ships are about supposed to be about positioning, and they said the larger the ship goes, you want it's also positioning, but it's not quite the same. It's more like getting your ship angling your ship for the most effective firepower going to where you need it to go, broadsides or protecting or aligning maybe a couple different ships so that their weak spots are covered by the other ship, coordinating so you're not shooting each other when you're trying to defend each other, stuff like that. So the larger the ship is, the more it becomes a strategy game, with the action part being the turret, the people controlling the turrets, and so we'll have to see how this all plays out. But yeah, you have all the stuff is good. The speeds are gonna drop down significantly when you're in the SCM mode. We'll have to see how that goes ultimately. Just like they're dropping the speeds of the ground vehicles, and once again, I have no problems with that. But it'd be better if they had the speeds the same, but gave us once again acceleration control. Because then if we had direct control of acceleration, we wouldn't have a lot of the issues they're having that they're lowering the speeds from, because you could take that. Like if I'm playing, for example, Forza Horizon 5, right? I could drive really fast or I could drive really slow with the same car. I can drive off-road really fast or off-road really slow with the same car. The difference is the faster I go on the off-road with the same car, I'm probably going to hit something. The slower I am, I'm going to have a lot more control. And that's a choice I can make in that game. It's also a choice that it should be presented here in Star Citizen. Yeah, they slow down fighters. They'll make turret play. Exactly. It's the faster the ships are able to change vectors and whatnot, the harder it is for everything to the turrets to track, and less effective, the less useful turrets become, especially on ships like the Hammerhead, which are dedicated to turret usage. So I like the short range jumping here. I think this is great, being able to control this kind of thing more directly. So now you won't have to just jump based on waypoints. You can. I hope that down the road that they will open this up and allow us to open up a map and set an X, Y, and Z coordinates somewhere in space, and we can then jump to it. I think that would be a nice addition. But for right now, this sense of manual control, which is very reminiscent, as I said, of the interdiction system in Elite Dangerous, is a nice in-between. So, yeah, lots of decent stuff here. I'm looking forward to seeing how these changes work. I think there's a lot of snap comments on the forums right now where people are flipping out. Some say I love it, some say they hate it. I guess it's a sign of any positive change when people are divided on it, because at least it means something's changing, right? But we'll have to get our hands on it, and we'll go from there. We're looking at persistent NA streaming coming in soon, so that's gonna be it's a pre-game game changer before we get server meshing. That's actually I believe that's going to be going very soon in Evo Conti testing, and
I was very disappointed they didn't give us any information on server meshing that he's had a special crew working on
yeah,
for.
I was really surprised we didn't hear anything about that this year. Maybe they're just keeping that close to the chest right now. But with PES about to be tested, I don't imagine that server meshing is far behind because their big goal right now is to get Pyro in their hands. And I still think Nyx is on the chopping block too to come out. I think Nyx is such a simple system. I don't see why they wouldn't. It's basically like one station in the asteroid belt. And Nyx is like so easy to do. They might as well just give us Nyx. They took Levski out and put it over there. So Nick, that's where Levski was supposed to be originally. Just give us Nyx. It's not maybe that the location in the space isn't right from where it's supposed to be, but it's a temporary thing. We'll move them later. Um, yeah, FPS game. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It should be. It should be. Maybe say first person simulator. How about that? First person simulator. We'll go with that. We know that's not what he meant, but you know. Let's see here. Bombers from Life Fighters end up being useless too. Buccaneers less than 4 speed. Yeah. Well, like if they did it right, like the Buccaneer who has like the engines on each side, right? You could alternate the power of those engines. That thing should be able to. That thing should be able
I think it should be
to
y'all.
rotate yaw pretty well if done
Yeah.
right. In the same way like the Xeon Scout should be able to do, but Xeon Scout has more flexibility than that. But I think like if they would actually apply the way that the ships physically look, like the Cutlass Black, right, or the Cutlass in general, those engines sticking out the side, like if you could, and I don't want the game to go into a yaw fight, but for larger ships where they shouldn't move that fast, and for a fighter yaw would be pretty dangerous. Uh, but if you were to like not use it as a turn, but like as it's just a general rotation, like you're flying straight and you rotate, you crazy Ivan it, right? You just spin the ship and then full power back forward and fine. Um, I like to see fun maneuvers based upon what ships are built or designed to look like, and kind of go from there. So, yeah, I think this is a positive change in the line. Well, obviously when it comes out, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be a lot of issues. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to throw ships, create new metas, which they said they want to eliminate metas. So, this is
That'll make Jared mad because metas are good for Jared.
yeah. So yeah, this is going to be sloppy when it comes out. So just give your feedback. They're making a bold move. It's not really so bold because other games have done it, but I feel it's something that when it comes out, it won't be perfect. Obviously, it's going to have a lot of problems, but a fact that they're willing to step out and make these kind of decisions and changes to flight, that putting limitations, more limitations are good. We need limitations or flight will suffer and die. We need to see with these limitations now they can start coming up with other distinctions. Maybe medium ships, maybe light ships are able to, you know, uh, I don't pick your poison. Like the light ships need to be a lot easier to kill. Like you get a lot more maneuverability, but so they're afraid of ships with turrets because they don't have a lot of defense, and so like you have those mediums like the Vanguard or whatnot, and if they can reduce rotations and accelerations, then you know the more they do that within reason, of course, the turrets and stuff on that defend these medium ships and whatnot, like the Super Hornet, whatever, they become more effective. The ships start to stand out a bit more. But if the things keep being extremely fast, then those ships will continually be the light fighters bitches basically.
Think about the ships that have the anti-spool up drive weapons. So if someone goes to spool up and all of a sudden they're being attacked by a ship like the Cutlass Blue,
Mm-hmm.
and it starts taking out their ability to warp away,
Yeah, because he's breaking the bubble
they've
head.
lost their shields. Now
Well,
they've
then
lost.
they're gonna have to stick and fight anyway.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. You try to turn on your bubble, your shields are off.
Mhm.
The guy breaks your bubble, and you know what? The guy can break your you break your jump. Now you're not jumping away, but you have to wait for your shields to reach. That's I don't see that as a bad thing.
No.
I see that as gameplay. I see that as like, oh crap, and then now you got to make some decisions. You got to try to like maybe you have to use some maneuvers to get away. Fly lazily to the left, and if you do that, you should be able to get away. So let's see here. See, Lightning says dumb thoughts. They should have. See, fighter. Okay, sorry, the fighter should have pitch and roll and some pitching. Um, well, I mean, we talk about G forces on the human body. It should be pitch and roll. But Xeon Scout could do pitch and yaw and stuff like that. But you should have G-forces. As long as the G-forces respect correctly, I have no problems with that. If you pass out quicker or damage yourself by doing something stupid, then so be it. See here, Dump thought they should have tiers of armor like they do guns. Yeah, well, I think they are going to have different types of armor. They talked about that a while ago. Different materials, different thickness,
And that's
different
supposed to
weights,
affect the
different
weight of the ship
costs.
too.
Yeah, and so that is going to be a thing. Just we don't have any armor, which is actually the lack of armor is actually a huge deal of why medium fighters and stuff like that, medium heavy fighters aren't medium and heavy in the way that they should be. Having the damage resistances and not just a random pool of hit points makes a lot more sense and can actually change the game quite a bit. And that's without those systems coming out. It's really hard to compare the effectiveness of ships in some regards without those important components being implemented into the game. Yeah, I think they're going in the right direction too, there, Hero, in that regards. All
I
right.
think it's just step one.
Exactly. It is very much a step one. But they've had a Gordian knot they've been trying to untie for all this stuff. And looking at this combat here, it just hurts me. It just hurts my
And
soul.
I know I can't
It
stand
just
this,
hurts
but
my.
I
It just
think
hurts my
the reason
soul.
they showed us this part.
Yeah.
It's like baby steps because I know if they were supposed to
I
show
know.
us the rest they're
Oh,
working
this
on,
is just this. When I watch
you
this,
would
it's just this
so
is
upset.
just. That's not master modes. That's like apprentice modes. When you see the
Yeah,
combat like that. Yeah.
it's like they're
Yeah, they
flying.
exactly. Some fighters should be faster. Light fighters should be faster. Some should be more maneuverable. But no light fighter should do it all. I agree. Everything needs to have a reason to exist, and you could adjust the parameters like a chipset that costs a little bit more, maybe a little bit better, but not a huge amount. As I said, logarithmic curve. Because let's face it, if you buy a computer for $1,000 and you buy a computer for $2,000, a $2,000 computer is not twice as fast. That's not how that works in the real world. You do pay a premium. You might get like a 10% faster computer for that extra $1,000. So you're dealing with a logarithmic change. So you do have maybe that chip that costs twice as much is only 5 or 10% more effective in what it does. So you have those. That way you can keep the gaps on ships from being too large and allow more of the pilot skill to actually take hold and keep that within there. Now, that does of course. Yeah, that does, of course, lead us into, and I'll play the background here and move on to some other background footage. And as we show some of this stuff, I'm going to basically, I want to move into, we're talking about the player skill. So let's talk about, and this is very vague, so I don't have a lot of information. None of us do, but I want to get your thoughts on it, of him having, actually having now skills in the game. Stats or whatnot. Maybe they're stats. As you like lift more boxes, you get stronger or whatnot. I'm not exactly sure. They're rather vague on the description, but like there was 3, 4, 5, 6 times. There was a lot of times that someone had linked a video, linked all the videos in Spectrum, where Chris Roberts had come out and flat out promised that there would be a player-only based skill game, and there would not be any sort of levels or stats or skills or anything like that. And now they're talking about, if you do X, Y, and Z, like if you're a pilot and you fly all the time, you get used to G-forces, you're able to, your G-force tolerance goes up. Now, I don't know if this is a temporary buffs or if this like Ultima Online. Like like the reputation system right now, if you don't constantly interact with someone, the reputation goes down. Okay, so say you fly a lot and you're in a campaign for combat and you get more resistances to G-forces, but you don't fly for a couple months, right? You're or whatever. You're not a pilot. You're not doing the heavy combat. Does that meter go back down? Does it kind of reset? Is it one of those things that you have a limited number of things that can be raised up? Like you can't like lift weights a bunch, carry a bunch of boxes, fly a bunch of ships, shoot a bunch of guns, and they all have like this really high. Like, is it you just one bonus goes up, one bonus? We don't know anything about the system. Yeah, I think if it's like temporary buffs for doing something continuously, and then after a while the buffs wear out, I think I wouldn't have a lot of issue with it. But I still don't know. And it does kind of show to some degree specialization. But if they're going to do this, they need to give us multiple character slots. They need to give us multiple character slots. I mean, I need to have a character that just does cargo. I need to have a character that just does combat flight. Because if these things are going to get locked in, then why would I want to why would I ever want to do X when I know that it's going to weaken me to do Y? I don't want to limit myself like that. So I need multiple characters who are going to do this to me. You know, Yeah, I wish I stopped working on engines. I forgot how to work on engines after 3 days of not working on them. Exactly. Hey, in some regards, you know how long it took me to not only to do the editing because I forgot how to use Sony Vegas Pro because I haven't used it in a while, but also when I was making the thumbnail for this video, I forgot how to put the borders around the text. and I had to find another one so I could figure out exactly how to, because I hadn't done it since May. I'm like, oh crap, how do I do that? So there is that somewhat real world thing where you're like, you haven't done something in a while, so you kind of like have to refresh yourself. So that in that regards, that I'm not I since that's a perfect example of forgetting to do something or how to do something because you haven't done it in a while, or at least not being as good at it or taking longer to do it. I have no real objections in that regards. Um, yeah, I have two packages myself. One of them came with the Saber Raven. Um, but I think CIG will probably sell character slots. I mean, come
They
on.
talked about selling character
Oh,
slots.
New Lorville. They're updating Lorville, so you can kind of see the old and the new. The new is like a lot more buildings and stuff. Like Lorville needed to be reworked for a long time. I guessing that they're going to be they're setting it up so basically there'll be missions in buildings through the seating system. So we might be able to travel around Lorville more freely and actually go do missions inside of buildings. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully they'll add roads so we can drive. I want to see these cities that let us drive around a bit. It'd be nice. Um, yeah, they contradict themselves by saying attributes won't affect flight. Your character has ability to a certain amount of G-force tolerance, so the flight patterns may be different between players. Yeah, exactly. If your character has more G-force tolerance, like if you have player A and player B, and they're both flying the exact same ship, but player A has a G-force tolerance built up, he's gonna be able to do things player B can't do, and probably win the fight. He may be able to take him into a turn that the other guy can't go into. He passes out, the other guy's fine, and then he finishes him off while he's blacked out. Right? There is an advantage to be had there, and so that's where the negative, the downside, the real potential problem comes in of doing that. Maybe you're a cargo hauler and you can load boxes faster than the other guys. But I don't know if that's going to count for much. But say you can you can do a cargo run faster than some other people because you're able to load the boxes faster or whatever, make more money per hour than the other guys, or whatever. Um, I don't know. I think this could lead to. I hate to say that you might force people and shunt them into being stuck in whatever role they started to do, or at least feel that way. Not willing to explore the full avenues of the game because they've already dedicated themselves to one particular path. It's like why a lot of MMOs and stuff have respec, right? I mean, that you pay a certain amount of money, you respec your character because you may not be happy with what you chose. So I don't know. Um, yeah, like I have a turret skill thing. Like if you're more accurate with turrets, if you use turrets. I mean, it seems weird. If it's a stats thing, like I don't think it should be skills per se. I think it maybe should be physical, like physical character. I can see physical characteristics. Like if I'm always running, like you see the lower of the screen, if I just run like this everywhere, maybe my endurance goes up. I'll look like an idiot, but maybe my endurance goes up because I'm just running. Okay, and that's what I do. I literally take my character on the on the jogging circuit all the time, like when I'm in spare time. Okay, so I have higher endurance, so I'm able to take those G forces better. Maybe I do a lot more puzzles, like I do a lot more hacking and whatnot, right? So maybe what I get with that is effectively higher intelligence. So how that translates is I have more time to hack before the failure. Maybe as long as they're not, I don't want them to be skill specific. Like there's a hacking skill and there's a flying skill and there's a shooting skill. Maybe if you're stronger than Matt Warren Durst, but you're physically stronger lifting boxes, right? Maybe because you're stronger from lifting the boxes, you are able to fight the recoil on a gun better, right? And so basically you don't the recoil doesn't kick in as hard on weapons, and because you are a stronger individual.
Yeah, maybe you're stronger. 50 cal recoil on it's going to not bother you like somebody shooting a 22 versus a 50 cal.
Yeah. So there's other applications to this. It's just, but they shouldn't be one where fighters are the end all be all. But there's also endurance. Endurance should have other endurance, running, how far you can run before you have to rest. Maybe that'll come in handy when you're wearing heavy armor. Maybe you got a little bit of strength and a little bit of endurance, so you can wear heavy armor and be more effective with it than other people who can't, right? I don't know. We'll have to see how it's implemented. I can understand people's outrage by it. I really can, because it's something that was explicitly mentioned not going to be in the game, but here it is. All right, so I'm going to play some of the underground footage. So yeah, this is. Let me check the sources on this real quick. Hold on. Let me skip ahead a little bit on this video before I change the background. But this looks really nice. They show a comparison towards the end. Oh yeah. Here's the old Lorville as it stands right now, and then they show you the new Lorville. That is a huge difference. And then they're gonna show like the old lots, the old ground way it looks, and this is the new way. So as you can see, that's
Yeah,
that's
like I've seen that.
that's
They
that's
make,
monstrously different. Um,
they're changing it so
yeah,
weapons recoil is different for different builders.
yeah,
They're making it so a gun that normally had a really bad, strong recoil. They've built it so that it has a lighter recoil
yeah.
for ease of use.
So anyway, so yeah, this looks a lot better. I'm glad to see Lorville getting a rework because for the longest time I said that Lorville has needed a massive rework. It had First City itis, and that's like the opening of Cyberpunk right there. Like
Yeah.
it's just, oh, I'm sorry, like this, but it actually has, but CIG actually has working trains. Anyway, so the thing is that yeah, this is. Gosh, if they really flesh out these cities, we could have a cyberpunk kind of experience in the game in one city. I want to see cities immersive enough that you're willing to stay there. I want to play the underground video. So they're expanding the underground missions, underground bases. Um, they won't basically right now the way we have these really simple bunkers with these terrible
And if
layouts.
people do
Well, not
remember
terrible, but they're
Asteroid
boring.
Hangar, they
Hmm.
took a lot of stuff out of the
Yeah, yeah,
Asteroid
it
Hangar.
does have that nice industrial feeling. You know, um, yeah, when they dogfight in their cab ship, exactly, Lightning. What is a pilot cab ship could do a hard G turn? Well, the thing about the cap ship turning is that, like, if they do radial arm, like, if the ship rotates along the center, the people on the outer edges of the capital ship would be thrown around.
They'd be squished to the
Right,
wall.
they'd have to put power into the gravity systems to reduce the gravity, or maybe like tell people that or you look at the Expanse. I've only seen clips of it, like people have to strap down in a chair for a hard turn with a large ship, because and they have to get injected with this whatever. I'm not saying that has to go that far, but the point is like we're about to perform a high G turn. Everyone strap your butts in, and then like a high G, relatively speaking, for a capital ship. But if you're standing in the hallway, you're probably going to end up on the wall. So like that kind of thing, that'd be fine. Um, that would be interesting. It's like, didn't you hear the notification, Bob? Well, hear what notification? Whoop. You know. So yeah, that would be
You better hope you're not in a Drake ship because then your head could be stuck into some
into a
insulation.
pipe or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
or a toilet next to a bed.
could be a toilet next to bed,
Hmm.
or I should say, in a Drake ship could be a bucket.
Yeah, very much so. So yeah, this is some of the new underground. They're trying to basically expand these out. You probably all saw all this stuff. So anyway, at this point, we're just opening up the floor for conversation about anything you saw in the CitizenCon. Actually, we're moving along much better than I thought we would, considering all the clips that I had. So
They were
right
just a
now,
little.
whatever you want to talk about, feel free to throw it out there. Any concerns you had, any things you liked, anything you want to see more of, or something you want to see less of. Uh, you know, what did we learn today? No.
I feel the flight was just they just gave us a tiny taste because I'm afraid that they give it to us all.
Mhm.
They're going to cause a huge stir of a mess.
Yeah, I would agree that basically that they gave us they showed us the underlying system they're trying to change. I don't think they showed everything fully implemented. Um,
No.
because there's a lot of things that they talked about a long time ago, the rudders for atmospheric and stuff like that.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things that haven't really been that weren't broached on at all, which show me that what they're talking about is just an underlying system, but not the overall. It's a step. So we'll have to see how the other steps come in. Uh, and now one of the things they talked about is that the Squadron 42, and the next 2 years of development, I'm like, oh,
Yeah, 2 more
answer the
years.
call of 2016, huh? Answer the
Yeah.
call of 2024?
Okay, we're up
Holy
to
crap.
now we're up to 12 years.
Yeah, it
How
is
many
weird.
more actors are we see pass away, and we'll have to have?
Maybe that's it. They're waiting for everyone to die, and then we can
Yeah,
sell it as like their last performance for all these people. Um, you didn't watch it because you give up on the game. That's fine. You can make comments about anything you see and hear Lightning now. Um, yeah, Lightning is taking a hiatus until at least they get the flight good. But there, by the way, Lightning, the Orion is in development. Just to let you
yeah.
know. So your mining ship is in the pipeline now. So hopefully that will be something that might pique your interest. I don't think you have to worry too much about hardcore flight mechanics in an Orion, so we can
No,
at
but I
least do
still
that
think
together.
they need to fix it so the mining mechanic is better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look
So
look at that video it's playing now. Is that not industrial hangars top
Well,
room looks down into the hangars.
one of the things there that's actually right now in the roadmap, like in this like 3.18 is there the cargo revamp. Cargo revamp is actually coming in. Mining, in a sense, doesn't matter, and you're right in the regards of like affecting supplies per se. Like, there's no real world economy depending upon these things, but there is the way to make money. But at least be a mechanic worth testing and a video worth doing it to at least take your Orion out for a spin. That'd be
We were
fun.
even talking about the next ship going to be another mining ship.
Yeah, but we had to choose. I think most people voted for RSI. I think RSI makes a pretty, would be fine.
Well, they
Um,
get the. I mean, the Orion's RSI, isn't it?
See, people keep comparing the attribute system to the other things that have changed. PvP slider, which probably would have never worked anyway. Cloning doesn't affect PvP at all unless you want to PK. That doesn't let players care permanently. Rep system still doesn't affect PvP. This is literally the only thing they've announced that fundamentally changes the game mechanics. Yeah, you're true. It's in the mechanics, right? The underlying mechanics, sure. And the other things, I guess you could say, they affect the atmosphere of the game, the experience that you have within that atmosphere. So, like for the PvP slider, the concept there, and that you'd be matched more likely with players who you'd be more likely to be matched to players who were on the same, like if you put pure passive, like you could still shoot other players, but you'd be paired with other players that also set the passive, more likely that they're not going to shoot you upon meeting. If they go for like hard coded safe zones, like these two systems are starting zones, and there can be no PvP here. Like any players that you should, or a system, this one system that lets, and then you move out from there, and then you start opening it up, right? That's one suggestion that I've had to allow player. And as you move into more dangerous zones, the payouts for missions go higher. That's I thought that would always be a fair way of doing it. But there probably could be other ways out there that are better than that. Second here. All right, so I'm just looking at the length of this video here. Uh, yeah, I mean, if they keep the attributes to FPS elements only, I mean, that would be like, you're talking about the lifting for lifting. If you're working like your physical body, like running around lifting, then maybe yeah, you're able to fight the recoil. Or if you're always running sprinting, then you get more endurance to maybe run and sprint further. Or maybe you can carry combinations thereof. Well, what I was thinking of, Lightning, was that whatever starting zone it is gonna if you were to start the game as a new player, or the game launches, you would have a zone that everyone can go into. It's acclimated. Now, what that zone does um, is that there is it can even be, it doesn't even have to be the whole system. It can literally be a station with a gigantic bubble around it that prevents any damage to ships. Like, you can literally fly into the station, and it sounds gamey, and it is, but the point is, like, here's your starting area. This is your tutorial area in the game. This is where you can learn how to fly. How you can interact. This is like your starting stage. So, like, otherwise people will start the game and they'll all like leave from starting stage and collide each other, and I'll be out there with my reclaimer, like going, oh yeah, bring me the money, baby. I'd be out there we just be out there with the tractor beams and the salvage beam, just scooping up all the noobs. It's like, I got 6,000 pounds of meat. I guess there were people in those ships. But yeah, so I mean, I would like to see something, and then as you move away from that, then obviously collisions become a thing again. And then you move way further than that, then like into a different area, then you can get shot by other players and collisions and everything else. So I'm just saying it's like a warm up zone. Like, you move, and then as you move into the more difficult areas, then the money goes up. Like, you give them a nice, safe learning portion of the game. And you can go back there later if you want. That's a given. But the point is, like, the payouts wouldn't be worth a darn for you. So if you want to make more money, you press it a little bit. And if you want to just have a nice, easier experience and don't care about the money, you just stay in the less dangerous zones. And that's viable too. As long as you play the game in a way that makes sense for you, that you enjoy, who cares? You're being in a less payout more comfortable zone isn't hurting the guy who wants to do PvP. In fact, that might make his world better because he knows who he's dealing with. He knows he's not going to get, the guy he's seeing coming at him is actually coming at him. It's not some guy that's just looking to deliver milk and eggs, and and you think he's going to try to get into a combat with you. Um, you could make it an offline zone, true, yeah, for practice. I mean, we do have the arena commander, a free fly area, but it is bigger now.
Over EVE Online, the high sec spaces, you were protected by AI security forces.
Yeah, that's another factor too. I mean, security forces in the area, how fast they come, um, whether or not how far you are from the main travel lines, so the cops can respond. I mean, I'm not saying I have the perfect answer, but I'm just saying that's one potential way of going about it. I'm sure you all got your own solutions, and that's fine. I mean, um, I do want to see people have the option because you can't make people PvP, but you can encourage them to play a different game. And that's the bottom line. We need to see the community stay strong and people be able to find that location or find that way they want to play that allows them um, to play the way they want to play without feeling like they're being forced into one that they absolutely despise. I played a lot of different PvP in a lot of different games. I played a lot of. That's how Lightning and I met. We were PvPing together. Um,
Star Trek
yeah, we were
Online.
PvPing. We're also the Old Republic PvP there. We've done we've done some. Well, I've done a lot. I did a lot of IL too. We did War Thunder. Not that that's really much of a flight game, but it's still fun to fight other people. We've done other games too as well, but I just can't think of the list off the top of my head. But there's quite a few. The point is though is that like I like PvP. When the mechanics are good, PvP is worth doing. But some people just despise it across the board, and that's also fine. They want to play with and not against. That's just their preferences. There's nothing wrong with that, and the game needs to make sure that there are ways for those players to be embraced, so that they don't leave the game. The stronger the community, the more people we have playing the game, the longer life of the game, the more everyone wins. So I think we just need to stop labeling people Care Bears and whatnot. What is if someone wants to deliver cargo? How does that hurt you as a PvP player? It doesn't. So just stop labeling someone. That person's going to keep the game economy help the game economy move, which helps you. So just embrace their existence and stop trying to label them as something negative. It's like there are PvPers and there are gankers. There are those too. There are people who are trolls and vicious people. But there are the honorable PvPers. Like there is the honorable pirate, the guy who will actually let you live if you drop the cargo. And there's a guy who's going to blow you up immediately afterwards. Yeah, is what it is.
Yeah, Rattlehead. I was really surprised they didn't talk about anything about server meshing. Because as far as I'm concerned, none of this is going to do any good until they get the server meshing thing. They were saying that in-house
Mm.
game testing for the new flight model that they were doing with speeds was working out great, but
Well,
they hadn't. They had made the comment that it wasn't working outside basically their offices.
you know
Well, that's
that's
because the servers.
that's a good point here about the towing underneath quantum travel, because you have to extend a tractor beam. Maybe tractor beams they'll say don't affect the quantum bubble. But yeah, that means the person towing in the tractor beam would also have to have their shields down as well. Pretty interesting vulnerability situation. Um,
Isn't there a tractor beam ship that's specifically designed for that?
yeah, you could do the starting. Yeah, I have that ship.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's actually being gray boxed right now. All right, so starting stage. Yeah, Planet Bob. You have 5-10 missions that teach you how to play. Yeah, when they're done, you can leave. Turns into an online zone. Yeah, that's doable. And none of this will work with us. We have server meshing. Exactly. Everything falls apart unless they get that to work. Exact. Server meshing is so key, and that's why when we're about to be testing in Evocati PES, persistent entity streaming, and that's where you put a cup on the ground, you leave, you come back 3 weeks later, and the cup's right there. So persistent entity streaming. Now it'll only work on the same server currently. And this is why we need server meshing, because server meshing with PES comes online. There are no server 1, server 2, server 3. It all gets stored into the PES database, and then it doesn't matter what country you're playing from, where it all gets pulled in the same database. So like you can be in France and come to that same spot where that cup was, and I played that 2 months ago, and there's no quote unquote servers or regions. It just picks the best for server for your location, but it's going to pull that information from the PES database, and that cup's going to be sitting there. And if you move the cup, it's going to update it, and then when I come back, that cup may have been put on a different rock. That's going to be pretty important. Let me switch over to a different scene here. Hold on. Of course, I got the new ships that are out, so I'll put that up here too. All right, so let me take a look at the chat here real quick. Yeah, there is a potential for the new power play system to allow for more griefing because I said people can get trapped a lot easier because they have to make that choice. They have to make that system switch over. But on the other side of that coin is the scanning. With the increased scanning ranges, they want to go instead of just hundreds or it's not even hundreds. Right now, it's like 20, 30 miles, going to hundreds, if not thousands of miles. Giving you that option, giving that situational awareness to maybe prepare your escape. Be ready to you detect something. Oh crap! There's 5 fighters going this way. We're gonna book, guys. We don't want to deal with this. And if you decide to ignore it and let them come and ride in on you, you know, I think having the sensors will help. Because it's a double-edged sword. Someone going to detect you further out. They're going to try to quantum, jump to your area. But then they're going to come in shields down. So that's another thing too. Like if shields are down after a jump, if someone people aren't going to want to jump right on top of one another. If you jump in on somebody who's not you're the attacker. You jump in, point blank range. Your shields are down. Your weapons are offline because you were just in quantum travel. His aren't. He has the advantage. So people are going to jump. You're going to want to jump 20, 30, 40 kilometers away, maybe 100 kilometers away. Get the systems charged back up and then come in. Coming in, like you're not going to come in with a group of fighters on a hammerhead with all your shields and weapons offline. You're dead. So there is that side of it as well. Yeah, missiles away. Exactly. You're gonna oh yeah, okay, oh look at these idiots. They jumped in 200 meters away from my hammerhead. Everyone just kill them. You know. Morphologist has a video on this. I haven't watched this yet. Apparently, he really likes the ship design. It does remind a lot of people say this is the Star Citizen Normandy
Yes, this is Normandy.
from Mass Effect to a large
First
degree.
time I saw this ship, the first thing I thought was Normandy.
This is of course, the one variant which is a passenger liner, even has the mix master. That's actually one of the ones that I snagged because I actually did want to do passenger liners. I just didn't want to do the big one. So I was like, man, I wish I wanted to do people transporting, and like that's this ship right here. I'm like, that's perfect. That's not too. It's more like the old sitcom Wings or something. You got the small, they get the small charter flight and company, and that's perfect for me. Um, it's just a small VIP transport. I'm perfectly fine with that. Though technically speaking, you could probably make that for anything. I mean, non VIP would be fine. You got all those seats in the back of the freelancer for behind the cockpit. Not you can lock them out, but you have a lot of ships where there's a lot of extra seats. Heck, you can take a Valkyrie, which has got all those drop seats, and just fill them up with people, right? The Retaliator's got the whole sections you can swap out with seats down the road. You could probably turn that into a passenger liner of some kind. With the modular sections, of course, this is an airship I own right here. This one's coming up pretty soon, the Corsair.
Yay, Corsair.
My brother's going to CC you. I think you said you're going to do your Andromeda and turn it into this when it comes out. This actually said this is the competitor to the 600i. So
which doesn't make any sense because it's originally a competitor to the Aquila.
I think it's got bigger. I think that's why. When you look at the scale of it now, it's not the same scale as the Aquila. I mean, when you see the people in the cockpit, it is closer to the scale of the 600i. This ship got significantly larger.
I just have a thing for Drake.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty common to see in Star Citizen ship development. A lot of ships we've seen over time have absolutely blown up in size over time and gotten. I mean, look at the Merchantman. Even the Merchantman I think is bigger. Look, it's got the fan. It's got the fan, so it's definitely a Drake ship.
Yeah.
You can't. I do like the. I do like.
I didn't notice the fan until you
I
brought
like
it
the
up.
fact that the co-pilot's underneath, and that
Yeah.
talk about getting a nice clear point of view. Let's see here.
It looks like the tractor beam room in the Caterpillar. Since he sits underneath the cockpit.
Yeah. So.
Oh, so there are struts.
Yeah.
Yay.
I wouldn't worry about the modularity thing right now, Hero. These things typically change with they can change with time. I try not to take statements like that too seriously because
the Retaliator is supposed to get modularity.
well, yeah, I mean
too.
things change all the time in this development, and I think as the game. Oh yeah, that I was very happy about them changing the turn radius on these side turrets because before that the way they were built
Yes.
sucked. They could just do that with my mine layer because the turrets on those suck on the side. Um, but yeah, you have good coverage on the ship. Should be pretty. Another thing I like about Drake is simplicity. You know, you've got this whole nice keep it simple, stupid kind of design philosophy to Drake ships. This is like that's taken like right out of the Caterpillar. Um,
That is the caterpillar.
mhm. My brother owns a Caterpillar too, so um,
Here's the thing. If I melt for this ship, I'm going to be very sad. That means I have no Chris Roberts ships, no
mm-hmm.
Roberts
Well,
ships at
I did
all.
transfer my change my Hurricane to my most melted and unmelted and remelted and unmelted ship ever. I now have an Andromeda because I didn't need a Scorpion and a Hurricane, and I was like, okay,
I
I'll
still
just use
remember when you had the
Andromeda because
Phoenix.
he's gonna get rid of his Andromeda. Now I'll have an Andromeda, and it's like I must have melted and unmelted my Andromeda like 15 times now. I'm like, oh, maybe this will be the last time. Probably will, considering the fact now I'm a Praetorian level. I'm kind of done because that was actually the big goal I wanted, so that we could each have one of those. So let's see, let me take a look at the chat here.
You just wanted to have more lightning.
I did. Yeah. Now I have two F8 lightnings.
Two
So
lightning.
I have lightning and a lightning. Is that like that's like a Russian doll?
Look at this. Isn't this?
It's lightning comes out of the lightning.
I like this.
His helmet
You can
comes
go
off, and another one comes out.
on this. You have a lift that
Hmm.
actually take you outside the
On
top of
top
the
of the
ship.
ship for repairs and stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
This
Um,
looks a little congested
and
here.
another reason I like this too. Uh, uh, oh yeah, and then I have the new Gray Cat STD. I mean SRV. Um,
That's so they can race.
yeah. So
Uh-huh.
these are like the upgraded Gray. And I guess they updating the Gray Cat model too, because obviously that needed to happen because the Gray Cat's like one of the first moving assets of the game and it hasn't really been updated since then. They had the Taurus. That Taurus is out now. Lightning.
Yeah, the
It's actually.
Taurus,
Oh, it's
and this one
nice.
has a huge front end.
Oh yeah, it's got the color front. It's got the nice end on front end on it. They
It's
did a
the
good.
best front end on it.
Oh yeah, it's
I even like it better than the Aquila.
oh it's sweet. They've done a good job on that one. That's a nice cargo ship. I see they're updating the Gray Cat. I get weapons on the side and all that. So yeah, the Gray Cat series. It's nice. I think I like the simple.
I like the off road.
Yeah, these aren't the kind of vehicles that you take on a hostile environment though, because you're just
Well, the cool thing is you notice on the sides where you exit, they actually let you put the long guns,
yeah. They only
so
made
you
the
can
SRV
actually, when
ATV
you
because
come
he's
out,
sharper. Yeah.
you can grab your gun and roll.
Yeah, I like the gun attachment. Hopefully they start doing that with all the other ones too. I think that makes sense. You're going to get to the point where because of the systems, you're not going to be able to sit in a chair with a gun on your back. You're going to have to put it on a rack. That's one of the things they said for the longest time, and that's fine. I think that's very viable, I don't like seeing people with guns and backpacks sticking through chairs and crap like that.
That
I think
got
it's
brought up in
obnoxious.
the this on this whole Star Citizen thing too, because Chris Roberts said that people should not be able to going into ships in their heavy armor
Right,
with the
right, yeah. In
guns
fact, light
slipping.
armor is the best you're gonna be able to do sitting in a cockpit,
Yeah,
and maybe even the fighters, you're not even gonna be able to wear light armor at all. You have to wear just the EVA suit. I guess it's going to depend on the ship and whatever they decide. I mean, but I would agree that you shouldn't be wearing full body. That is, look at that. I like that
I
cargo
like the
system. Oh,
cargo.
that is pretty cool. I'm sorry, that is pretty cool. Um, there
I wonder
that
if they're going to do the mule.
I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. The mule's pretty nice. But yeah, this is this isn't terribly designed. It's kind of looks fun. It looks fun. Um,
It's going to be sad if this thing does better than the Tumbrils.
mm, uh, Well, I don't know. As I said, I'm just when I'm saying that hero, that's just me ballparking. It's possible that whatever. All right, so let's switch over to the next one here. We had, of course, a lot of updates coming on Pyro. Um, I'll run that in the background while we continue talking here about that. Uh, Armor, as I said, I could see light being a thing, but no more than that. And in almost any cockpit seat, to be honest with you. Uh, and
Unless you're on a Drake ship, because basically it's just a bench.
I mean, like, but look at a ship like the Merlin. A Merlin is barely, it's super
There's no
tiny.
room for you to
Right. I
even
mean, I
underwear
can't
in
imagine you
Merlin.
getting wearing any armor in the Merlin. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like how about how about the M50? Like, could you see yourself running around in that
The hospital
with
gown for the M50.
yeah hospital gown?
I,
But yeah, Pyro's coming
My
along.
shoulders don't fit.
The
I'll have to
different
get some
planets, different
surgery.
biomes. Um, it's really looking sharp.
Looking at these blue
And in fact,
crystals,
literally because the crystals look sharp. Yeah, that's it. Of course, Jared made the obligatory Heisenberg reference here. But, it is what it is. By the way, guys, since I have enough people on the stream, I want to ask you a question. I'll leave it up to you. I have the footage spooled up.
I'm just letting you know I have hail just beating my house.
I heard that. So, yeah, that sounds fun. Um, your wife, I heard her panicking about that too. All right, if it gets bad, let me know. Let me know. I'm more than
Yeah.
willing to, if you need to, that life happens, right? Okay, so yeah, they're parasite ships. Yeah, not dedicated fighter. But I'm just saying small cockpit in that regards. Um, anyway, so just back to what I was trying to say. I have it, and I'll let you guys decide if you want to see it. I have the footage spooled of the leak, the Squadron 42 leak. So if you guys want to see it, and if you haven't seen it, I can play it in the background. If you just don't care, you don't want to see it, it's nothing spoilerish, but there's some interesting footage in there. It's your call. It's like a 9-minute video. We can skip past this a little bit or whatever. It's whatever you want to do on that because while we're talking, because I think we're getting pretty close to the end, which is surprising because I thought this might take 3 hours, but no, I think we're pretty concise and we pretty much held straight to the point. So that's pretty cool, guys. Really appreciate your help on that. Uh, all right, so let me. There's no spoilers in it. It's just footage of like locations and so I mean I'll let you guys decide. If not, just look up Squadron 42 leak on YouTube. You'll find tons of people who have. It's a 9-minute video. Um, it's literally just showing locations and some weird ship combos. Like there's an Aurora with Gatling guns and stuff like that, like on wings. It's just weird stuff like that. But clearly you see some progression. So I got one yes. I've got one. Was that no here? Like no, don't play it. Um, so if I don't want to like I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. But if not, as I said, I can drop I can find one and drop it. You can find it on YouTube and drop it in Discord too. It's all possible. Um, I'll wait for a response on that. But I think it's funny that looking at these lakes. He kept saying oceans. Like that's not an ocean, dude. That's a freaking lake. He's like, oh, these oceans. I'm like, I don't know. It'll all be scrapped later anyway. Too late. I spoiled it. I spoiled it. How did I spoil it? Didn't spoil
By
anything.
telling them they have no spoilers.
Oh,
It's not like there's a bunch of cutscenes or
it says
something in
it's
it.
yeah. They just show a ship. That was that one thing I said. Spoil it, baby. All right. So, all right. All right. All right. So here's the thing. If you don't want to see the footage, I guess. Aurora Gatling. Yeah. Well, I guess if you don't want to see it, let me fast forward a little bit to show the next biomes real quick. The power of the slider. So you can see they're coming on. Some of these planets have volumetric. Some of them don't. Um, the water, I think, is always looking a little bit better. That they're able to do the multi biomes even on the shorelines to give us better looking shorelines and coastlines now.
They showed having some sort of plants that were actually moving with the water and the shoreline.
Yeah, they do. Pyro 4. Um, they're also trying new things with the height maps to give sharper edges and ridges, stuff like that. So this stuff, these are new trees. They're supposed to be higher quality count than in fact they're going to have to go back and rework the old trees because these are so much better. Um, yeah, still no life though. That's why we need the meshing so we can have animal life and stuff like that. Having actual like these huge rocks. This is what's pyro is this? I think it's still 4. There's like different regions on 4. So these rocks are like really massive. Um, yeah, the height maps are getting better. They're really pushing the limits. And the draw distances, like they're getting smoother, so they don't have the same pop. It's like the mountains look like they change shape massively from the distance. Um, yeah, the loopy rocks look yeah, they look weird. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't, uh, but nonetheless, they're big. They say that you can land your ships on these things, right? So still kind of cool, kind of cool. Um, So we got the fog, like the cloud, the volumetric clouds being so low creates fog. That's cool. Like the plants here, you see they're floating on the water, and the water is looking so much better. It done now that we can actually like get into the water without dying. Or swimming coming online soon, so that'll be nice. They can start dealing with the this whole planet here has got like a crater and a second ring around it. Um, yeah, it's hard to tell if you're right if they're just being cinematic or if that's the way it actually flies. You're correct. I don't know, Rattlehead. It's hard to tell with them. It really is. A lot of times it feels like the cutscene guys, the guys who do the cinematics, that understand stuff better. It looks like I'm about to die from thirst too on my character.
I'll be back in a second. I gotta go check this storm
All right.
outside the house.
I got. Bear with me a second, guys. My character's about to die from standing in one place. My brother's got he's doing his hail check. He's got a pretty vicious storm out there. Um, he'll be back. All right, so I'm trying to get to a convenience store before I die. Saved by a convenience store. Yeah, this area of the crater and this desolate, nasty looking area. I mean, it's pretty cool. They're really good at the environmental feeling that you get um, in these areas. I need beer. A second, I will get my character over here. Come on. Can't wait to. Come on, drink it. Drink. Remove helmet to drink. Oh, son of a. Second. All right, there. All right, there we go. I'm not gonna die on the stream. First time in a long time I haven't died on the stream. All right, we're good. On Orson, I'm just on the best convenience store in the galaxy. It has food, hot dogs, plushies, and guns. You don't get better convenience store than that.
Let me know if there's anything I can help you with.
So yeah, I think if the helmet opened and closed the front, you wouldn't need to take your helmet off. That's a valid point. All right. So anyway, yeah, look at the way they did the way they did the ridges on here. It looks very. This planet I think is obsidian, and so that's what they're going for here on this texture. Is this obsidian valley this scar that runs through it, as you can see here. It reminds me a lot of the Hurston area, where you go to the executive suites or the executive part of it. It'd be nice if you could mine actual materials that aren't like for crafting, like per se. Like if you could just mine obsidian, sell it to Hurston. They want obsidian. You know, you get a big rock or something and you move it. They carve something out of it. Water and food guns. You shoot the food and drink into people. So this is pretty cool. So let me skip forward just a little bit here. Over these valleys. Pyro 6, which is, you keep talking about oceans. Once again, it's not really oceans, but it's more like a series of crater lakes. There is like a little glitch. You see like the rocks are floating. You still got to adjust the map. So this is still being developed because this is like a gray box planet. So they did show that they use people for scale, these little models, and then a lot of these. Yeah, so this planet is like the least developed of all the ones they've shown. Of course, the light atmosphere changes the way the planet's lit, the color. So yeah, this is pretty much coming along. So I mean, it looks like they're mostly done with it. We've seen the stations and such like that. You know how those pirate stations are coming along. Hopefully they have a few legit stations. You know, maybe they won't. All right, so I had a little bit of an internet hiccup there. So if it went janky on you there for a moment, apologize. Oh yeah, that's Duke Nukem. The Duke Nukem 3D. That was one of the scenes. I'm gonna rip off your head and shit down your neck, and it does it. I love it. That was a great scene. It pulls out the newspaper. I thought that was great. Oh, the graphics teams do great work. So yeah, this is really nice. Just coming along. So let me get back to the closeout then with the leak. If you, of course, if you wanted to don't want to watch the leak, you can just stay into the discussion, I guess. Like, I don't know, like just read the text chat or something, or minimize it, or just listen, or whatever. So, you know, or stop the video, or whatever. Don't leave me. But anyway, so yeah, so we're gonna play this here. Some of it might be cut off on the right because of the text thing, but it is what it is. It's a very wide video for the formatting, and kind of go from there. So we can talk about anything you see or anything else during the process. So pull that up. You see, it's super wide. It's super wide, and I don't know. That was about the best way I could fit it on there. But obviously, you can find this video on YouTube. It's about 9 minutes long. So there's a 1080p version, and there's like a 720p that I found. I think they're both 720, but the 1080p had a better frame rate, so I took that one and used that one instead. I muted the. I got to mute the audio on that because it does have audio, like a music playing. So it's nice to see that there's still some nice forward progress in the game. Obviously, on the single player, anything they're making for the single player, the systems, the planets, all the stuff will end up in the persistent universe. So you have to look at this as well as like things we're going to be able to visit together. There's that station they keep showing. They've used for tons of examples for the AI, for the traversing on the surface. But that's the full array. That's just what made me realize that this is pretty legit. Because when they showed that actual asset that I've seen them use examples, but like fully fleshed out with the things around it, I was like, okay, this is pretty. Now you're going to see a bangle here, but there's another ship behind the bangle which I've never seen before. Like it looks like a lighter bangle. And you'll see it when it's docked. I don't know. It'll be on the left, and I've never seen that before. I have no idea. Squad 32 is. Oh, it's maybe the theme song for Squadron 42 should be Little Orphan Annie's Tomorrow. You know, it's always a day away, or maybe a year away. But yeah, I said the video isn't the cleanest. I know even if you're seeing it at this is, believe it or not, this is about as good as a video gets. I haven't really found cleaner versions. Yeah, lightning backed out because we were waiting on the dynamic missions, which are now starting to come in, and we're waiting on the flight to be fixed, and which still hasn't happened. So he just kind of got tired of it, and that's one of the reasons we kind of stopped the blast cast. We were going around in circles way too much, and it was getting to be an irritation. Lightning.
I'm back.
Yeah. Okay. And Lightning's like, I'm kind of done with it. Okay. Look to the left of the bangle here in a moment.
Bangle.
I'm sure we can get Lightning back on if the game turns solid again. Actually, that wasn't the scene with that. They show their ship, but it will in a moment. Once I get Lightning back in the Star Citizen, if they get everything fixed, then Lightning will be a permanent fixture, I'm sure, on the streams. And all of his snarkiness that we miss and love so much. There's a lot of space.
I'm out of breath.
There's a lot of space. A lot of wasted space. I'm not going to disagree with you there. I don't disagree with you there. I don't know if that's your main character. All right, so yeah, a little bit of a cutscene here. Obviously, no audio. They're not gonna. The
Oh, it's just this is the leaked trailer.
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, it's not that much. I think this was intentionally leaked. I'll be honest with you. I don't.
Well,
you can't get this much footage put together, composed, comprised with music. There's a small bangle to the left, or whatever the heck that is. You see that? What is that?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, here's the thing. When they said there was a big thing supposed to be coming out at the end, and then they just ended the stream.
Yeah,
I think this might have been it.
Well, that's the thing is like, I think like there was something blacked out at the bottom. That was weird. So like the fact that there's something blacked out there says to me it's like this was part of something to be released or at least shown.
Look at that.
I still think the leak was intentional as a way of, I don't know, doing some weird kind of hype. Yeah, exactly. It comes out during a CitizenCon. I wonder if it wasn't intentional or not. I mean, to me, it's what it feels like. it's not being discussed by in the form. I think it was this way of showing an unfinished video without like being tied to them directly. Like maybe they wanted to put something else a bit more polished, but they just ran out of time. Like, well, we could just leak what we done, and then and then kind of like, yeah, yeah. Like Jared ain't leaking again if he values his job. Jared, what's the IP address for the servers again?
Yeah.
Give us the pathway. That was something else. That was the one. But that actually, I think that's the thing. That actually helped them. As stupid as that sounds, having all those assets that got leaked out proved that they were developing something, and it shut up a lot of voices. And I think they got more backers after that. Same thing here. This is what I'm saying. Is it possible it's an intentional leak for the same reasons? Sure. Why not? It worked before. It wasn't intentional before, but it worked.
I sat there through the entire stream, and I kept hearing him say, "We've got a big thing coming at the end," and I kept waiting and waiting and waiting, and then it just ended the stream. It's like, what was the big thing? Did I miss something? I think this was the big thing, even though I don't think it's that big.
Yeah,
I would have liked to see some more stuff with Squadron 42.
I mean, this stuff is looking, very fleshed out. It's looking very well thought out. The environments are amazing. I'm glad to see. They showed us that train a long time ago, but it was practically in gray box. This thing. Now they're seeing this. So there's a lot of progress here. The main problem Star Citizen has, once again, is its mechanics. We got to deal with flight. We got to deal with the interactions. They're getting better, but they still have a ways to go. If we can get that, there's a hell of a game sitting here.
I almost feel like at times Chris Roberts is spending a lot of time doing in-game movie.
Yeah. Well, this is all, from what I understand, this was all in-game. This is all in-game rendered, not like cutscenes, not like CGI. This is stuff. This is the game engine going live, running the game. So, I think back like years ago, where this is better quality than CGI pre-rendered cutscenes that we had in older games, and this is just the game environment, and that's impressive to me. Of course, I grew up with Pong and the Atari 2600, so it doesn't take a lot to impress me. Nonetheless, I'm happy to see these kind of the kind of graphical development games that come on. I'm very easy to satisfy in that regards. They're supposed to be in-game cutscenes, like not like in-game, not pre-rendered. These things are supposed to be done with the engine itself. I have no idea what that is. Learning martial arts moves, yeah. Well, yeah, you can do the whole I know kung fu thing, There's one of those walking mining robots over there, and they're next to a Starfarer. Well, okay, let's put it this way. You could walk around and they've already showed with the cutscenes that basically you can break the camera out because it's actually going on in the game. Like it's not. You could literally walk around the scene as it's happening. How about that? Does that explain maybe better? It's happening in the game.
Every time I see this ship, it just makes me
exactly. The way they move, you're right. Exactly. That's what I said. That the jankiness of their accelerations is one of the things that breaks. Like this looks better. Look at this. That pacing look a lot more reasonable right there. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for, guys.
Yeah.
This right here is more what we're looking for, I think. When you agree that this is probably what you have more in your mind in the vision of a Chris Roberts game, when you're talking like the way the combat should look?
Look, even the small ships flying by the big ships don't look like they're.
Yeah, that's the scene at the end of Serenity. Exactly.
Yeah, Serenity. Yeah, exactly. Serenity.
Exactly. That's. Why is the carrier ship middle bow? Because they're also the Bengals are also gunships. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Flak cannons for the win. Battlestar Galactica.
I am a leaf on the wind. Yeah, well, that's probably
Yeah, I'm a
that's
leaf on
probably
the
what'll
watch
happen
how
to
I
me too.
soar.
Watch me float, splat. Watch me soar or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was damaged ship obviously. Anyway, so that was that. Let me go ahead and kick back over here to you get the full exciting full screen view of Star Citizen now instead of the little left corner thing. So anyway, yeah, guys, I think overall this was a fairly decent CitizenCon. I don't mind. In fact, I'm happy about the fact that they
I
did
feel like to me it was not a Citizen Con. It was more of another Inside Star Citizen. Just added extra few more minutes.
a like a end of year like mega
Yeah, I
edition.
to me it was not Citizen Con with the energy.
What is
It
this
was
guy
just like
doing? This guy's
he's collecting flowers.
I don't know. I was watching his head go up and down. He's bobbing his head up and down. It was really weird.
Looks like
Anyway,
he's holding a tray. I thought maybe oh, it was a gun. Okay.
uh, don't want him back to building about CR. Oh,
I just wanted to
I
see
see it.
more excitement and them do things. To me, it's like there wasn't really any panels. They just had two guys at a time come out and pitch whatever they were
Well, yeah,
working
like
on.
Tony Z, man. I was hoping for a Tony Z panel.
Yeah.
Tony Z is like, get your popcorn out because this guy's gonna blow your mind. You know, and like, no, Tony Z. It's not. Is it truly a Citizen Con without Tony Z? That's the question I have to ask. Uh,
Here's the sad thing: a certain redhead didn't seem to normally ticked off as much as he normally
yeah,
is.
that's true. Yeah, normally that guy always seems like he's got like
Oh,
like not just
do I
not just
have to
not
work
just
for
not
you
just a
guys?
chip on his shoulder, but like all the chips. Like someone just opened a bag of Doritos and just dumped them on his shoulders.
Yeah.
It's like yeah. So this guy was yeah. But also I mean if you look at like David Coulson looked pretty tired too. He had that he looked like he's pretty worn down. Hopefully he gets some rest.
Aaron looks tired.
Aaron looks tired too. Yeah, Quad 42 is a big push right now, and that he's the director of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, of course he's gonna feel the you know. Let's see if I can do this without killing myself. Woo. Okay. But yeah. So
I would have liked to seen if Cindy was doing okay.
Sandy Gardner.
Sandy, yeah,
Yeah, I
Cindy. I'm
saw her.
sorry.
Well, on Twitter, I saw she had a post with her kids. Their kids are gotten pretty big now, and yeah, she's fine. They were at CIG, and there was like a couple days ago. So I saw the post. It was yesterday actually when I was putting the link up for the. Well, it was in the last 48 hours to be less specific. But yeah, she seems fine. She seems fine. She seems in good spirits. Um, she still posts stuff for Star Citizen on her Twitter feed. So. That's just that she stepped out of the limelight because of all the abuse she was getting directed at her.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure she was okay. I
Yeah,
hadn't
she seems
heard
to be
anything
okay,
about her.
and I understand her pulling back because it's hard to take that much abuse, particularly when your kids were thrust into the middle of it, and she didn't deserve it.
Growing up in the
She
middle of
never
it.
deserved it, and and no one deserves that, frankly. And I hope that that she can continue being the excellent, doing an excellent job as she did in the background, if whatever level she's comfortable with. I bear her no ill will, you know. Um, but
I mean,
anyway,
if it wasn't for her supporting her husband's work,
no, yeah, she did a good job helping them get everything off the ground, and so I will always give kudos to her on that. You know, um, yeah, I mean she did a lot of B movies and stuff like that too. So yeah, I love B movies. I can't.
they're better than the regular
I will
ones.
never rip on the B movie actor, man, because they make some fun crap. They just throw the rules right out the window and they just have fun, and that's cool. B
It's like
movies,
they don't have the money for special effects,
right?
so they just do something silly.
B movies rock, and you'll never convince me otherwise. But
Bruce Campbell for the
Garbage
win.
Day. I mean, come on. The lines and stuff you get on them are just great. I mean, they're just so hammy. That's what makes them
Yes, for the
fun.
Lord.
They don't take themselves so seriously because they can't, and that's the great thing. Is just they're just a hoot. But anyway,
This
that's
is
way
my
off the subject. So
boomstick.
on that note, guys, looks like we managed to get this one slightly around 2 hours, so that was pretty good. I have time to salvage my day a little bit before I end up going to work.
And
I'm
we saw
working. I'm
Rogo and
working 11 days
Rattlehead and
straight. Oh,
Hero and
yeah.
Lightning.
But I will be putting this one up on YouTube. So just to let anyone know who's made it this far on YouTube that I do stream on Twitch 3 days a week on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And occasionally we do a Star Citizen Q&A when there's something to talk about. I don't just do them every week because to fill the time. If nothing's happening, I'm not making a video about it because that's a waste of your time and it's a waste of my time. So that's why there hasn't been one since like March. But the Wednesdays and Fridays are the hangouts. Basically, I just play whatever and we talk about whatever. It can be about Star Citizen, whatever you want. The Thursdays are the playthrough where I pick a particular game. I'm doing Ori and the Blind Forest, and on one alternating week I'm doing Fallout 3. So and then we play, we chat. We take the game forward to completion, and then we switch out one of the games and we wash, rinse, repeat. So anyway, all that stuff's on BitChute too, the archives of all that, and you know. Anyway, so I do appreciate everyone coming out and adding your voices to the mix. But I don't think this was a terrible CitizenCon. I think it was probably, in a lot of ways, there was a lot of good things shown here, and I think we got to see just about the right amount of progress on the right amount of things.
I just
And
wish they had more panels.
I think it's because a lot of it's Squadron 42 dedicated with the systems and stuff that are being used in Squadron 42, being developed for Squadron 42. That Chris Roberts doesn't want to leak a lot of that stuff because he's big about not doing like spoiler, and also because of the fact that they said that
Jared was leaking.
they wanted the system to be pretty much finished by the time they introduced it to the PU. So they don't want to show us maybe some of these mechanics why they're ironing them out because, well, we know how the forums can be. So basically, be like, okay, well, let's get this all hammered out. It works in 42 the way we want it now. Let's bring it to the PU. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, and thanks, Lightning, for stopping in and just adding in and chiming in. And I really appreciate. I think everyone appreciates seeing you, knowing that you're still alive. Lightning is alive, and hopefully, when they get the game up and running again down the road, Lightning will be playing on the streams with us, and you will never need to worry about your sodium intake ever again. Because we'll have Lightning around.
Salty Dragon.
Salty Dragon. He's a sodium dragon.
Sodium Dragon.
All right. Yeah, rather lots of good amount of info. All right, guys. Well, I said I'm gonna go ahead. We'll cut off here. I'm gonna go ahead and get everything set to be processed, and I'm gonna get some food, and then I'm gonna do a couple
We end the
things.
stream just as the weather front has passed my house.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So
I'm surprised I didn't lose internet. That was some big hail.
Well, that worked out for us. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you on the next year. No, we'll do another Star Citizen Q&A whenever we get enough information to make it worthwhile.
Next year.
But we'll obviously be back tomorrow with a playthrough. If it's not a playthrough, it might be a Hangout stream. It depends. There was some stuff I wanted to figure out in Ori that I didn't have a lot of time for because I was setting the stream up. So if I feel like I can't advance that game correctly, we'll just do a Hangout stream. So that's in the air. We'll find out. And anyway, this will be uploaded. So, all right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for coming out, and we'll see you in the verse out there. Bye.
Johnny.